Great. Well, then I'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Are there any citizens' comments? Is there somebody? No. I mean, anything we've received electronically or?
They have to be here to give a comment. The electronic thing was just during the pandemic.
Okay. Has everyone looked at the minutes? Would someone like to move motion to approve minutes? Yep, I'll motion to approve. Adam makes a motion.
I'll second.
Well, seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Got vote. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
All right, you got yours. Oh, yeah. Okay, it passes. Okay, administrator reports. Thank you for everyone who signed up to work at our table at Lebo Pride on Saturday. Adam's setting up, and then Livia's next. I think we have a gap at this point, 12 to 1, and then Margaret's on at 1. Adam's gonna come and grab the stuff at the end. So
I'll be there,
You'll be
so
there.
I can do an hour at the table, I'm
Okay.
sure.
can you do like 12 to 1?
Yeah, I'll
Well,
write
one.
that down.
So that puts one person there the whole time. If there's, if anyone else is there, jump on the table. And then there can be two people. We're handing out the diversity resolution. And then we're handing out which I sent to you all, the This is Pride Month. Proclamation from the commission, and then the discussion piece, which Adam designed. It says, what does a community of belonging where we all are welcome, included, and celebrated look like? This is straight from the diversity resolution, and then there's a board where people can write up their answers. So to generate conversation.
So Noah, this is Livia. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you have a final time slot for me? Because I offered to help out as needed, but do you have a final word on this?
You're the second 2 times, so at your 8 to 9, 9 to 10, you're 10, you're
10 to 11 and 11 to 12.
yeah, you're 10 to
Yeah.
12, 10 to 12.
Okay, thanks, guys. And what is the discussion and how do you feel as far as social media? Because we can post all morning, we can post throughout, just getting some social media trafficking throughout our traffic throughout the day. Anybody has a...
So I think it's important to remember, none of us as an individual can represent the board entirety. Its entirety. So if you're jump in. If you're using social media, just identify it as yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's the trick.
Yeah, I don't even think that we had a profile for the board in social media. I don't think we have. We don't have an account.
No, our municipal policy is that the municipality has official channels. Anybody that wanted to start one would have to do it in cooperation with us, and we would have to be the administrators to that.
Yeah.
We haven't had anybody do it because there's a lot of rules about what government can and can't say, and a lot of education. So
For that too, we are providing all the tables and chairs and stuff like that. So I have tables and chairs. If people want a tent, then I'm happy to pick it up to put it over, but weather looks pretty good. I don't know that we'll need it. But of course that can always change very quickly, but I'm just throwing that out there for people who are joining later, because I'm in the morning shift where it won't be quite as warm, but if it happens to get hot a little bit later, you might want the tent. Or just, I don't know, bring a sun umbrella otherwise.
Adam, I talked to David Donnell earlier today.
Okay.
if you want. And again, this gets into the discussion about how we typically handle boards attending different, I'll say community activities, but rec can set up a tent table and provide a couple chairs. They just need to know where that needs to go. I think that somebody from, or a couple people from Lebo Pride are going down either tomorrow or Friday, because what we do is when we allow groups to use those, we require them to come down so that they're essentially they get a 20-minute training on how to set up the tent and all of the, so that, you know, there's no questions there. But I did talk to David a little earlier today. We can arrange to have your tent table and chairs set up if that's helpful.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So that you're not.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just let me know where I need to be to help for the little setup. And then.
Okay, so would you be the best point of contact for?
Yeah,
And it'll probably be Pat Cannon from Rec.
I can, because I'll be the first one there, so.
All right.
Yeah, and that's a big one. Yeah, and we can, yeah, and I'll, whenever that I get looped in on that, I'll, forward on the chart of where we're, because we know where we're at within this event setup too.
Yeah, I saw an email from Lebo Pride on
Yeah.
it was like a site plan for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
May I ask who's in the room? I'm not recognizing everybody.
I'm the only one you can't see.
Okay, hi Laura, I know you.
Yeah, Miguel, I'm the municipal manager.
Oh, nice meeting you. I don't think we ever met.
I
I'm
know.
Livia Macedo.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, so, and then this is a first run of something that we can then do at farmers markets. You want?
Yeah,
Mention that.
so farmers markets, we are, right now, the Wednesday market, the Lions Club market on, at the. I remember the name of the church you used to vote at.
The Lutheran Church.
Yes, the Lutheran Church, not the one you currently vote. The, what is that? But the, that parking lot, I talked to them and, committed us for once a month. The first one being next week. I'm happy to do that first one. But I'll send out details about that, over email, but, it'll be the same, sort of setup that we're piloting this weekend, just, with more chances for engagement, within the community. So, yeah, so if anybody is interested in going to that one, wants to do next week, with me, that's fine too, more the merrier, but I'll send out the on that.
Check the date.
You wanna bring like a bowl of candy or anything Saturday?
Good idea. Yeah. I'll give Barbara Wilson a minute to catch her breath, but,
It's been a day.
so typically, when we've had advisory boards and period, either a first Friday, or another, I'll say, community event, it's typically a municipally sponsored event. Not necessarily, and one of the issues with the Lebo Pride and when we get into farmers market, there's a couple different potential issues here. One, these appearances have typically been directed by the commission, and when I say the commission, 3 or more, as part of an overall work plan for a board. We did it with the Historic Preservation Board when we were in the middle of the historic survey. We've done it in the past with Parks Advisory Board, with Tree City, and there's a couple other examples, but
ESB at Earth Day.
ESB at Earth Day. So again, typically direction from commission to an advisory board, principally because, again, in the past, when we've done these, we've always required a staff person to be in attendance. Because there are times when residents are going to ask questions that it's not fair to expect members of an advisory board to necessarily know that answer. That requires me to designate a staff person to be in attendance. And all of our senior staff are our liaisons to our boards. And I can tell you that none of my senior staff work 40 hours a week. They are all 50 plus hours. So I try to be a little, I'll say, diligent about allocating or asking them to allocate additional time over and above. I wanted to also just touch back a little bit. I saw this, so that I understand, is the idea to sort of generate maybe like a word cloud?
Yeah.
And then did you have any thoughts in terms of what you do once you've sort of collected all of that? Because you're all aware that we are still in the, say, last third probably of our comprehensive plan process.
Yeah.
I think that information would be excellent to be able to sort of fold in to that process to provide some direction on in terms of the overall goals and associated action plans for the municipality. So again, I really just wanted to get a better understanding.
Yeah. So, part of the mission of this board is to be engaged in the life of the community, to be aware of issues that relate to the relationships amongst the community, especially related to diversity and relationships among neighbors. So in order to do that, in order to do the task that's been given to us, we need to be able to have platforms to do that. This is a simple way of doing that. The purpose of this ultimately is engaging conversation. It will produce work product that we're happy to share. So, but in order to facilitate the conversation, to do the job we've been asked to do, we need to have a tool to do it. And so having people write with markers on a piece of paper is a tool.
It would be helpful for me, and if I could sort of just get a summary of, again, which is,
I'll do that.
should be very simple,
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Just so that I can loop the full
Yeah.
commission in,
Yeah.
so that in the event that they receive any questions
Yeah.
or there's any additional
Yeah.
input that they want to provide,
Yeah.
that they have the opportunity to do that.
And everything we're handing out, it's been passed by the commission,
Which is-
we pulled the language from the website, which is so perfect,
So,
I mean, we also have a piece of paper, well, it's laminated piece of paper that says Community Relations Board, the mission, it's all pulled straight. It's just the website text. So,
and so I believe that Commissioner Flynn is also going to speak
Yes.
at the Pride event. And Laura has that messaging. So again, just trying to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's aware of who's doing what. And again, I will see what kind of a response I get for the farmers market. My primary concern is more for staff time and what the impacts are there. And, having to have staff bring a table, chairs, and a tent. Now, if we're able to work through that issue, we could simply arrange with a member of the board, whoever's going to be, to simply pick those materials up the day before, if that's the most convenient, transport them, do what you need to do, and then they come back to us. So logistics, I just need to work through logistics as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking on my community events calendar. Next Wednesday is the school picnic.
Yes. Well, I don't know when were you talking about next Wednesday?
We talked about it, but it's not a date that's set in stone. Or anything, so.
That's a weekly.
Yeah, it's a weekly thing. We just wanted to do it once a month and we knew what this conversation was going to help facilitate that. So whether that's next week or even the week after, it might have even been the week after.
The week after is a comprehensive plan focus group. But the next week may be open. I don't have anything there. It's July 5th.
July 4th, we also do the July municipal sponsored event. The vendor sign up went out today.
We wouldn't consider you a vendor, but.
But if it would be easier to do it at those kind of things and not do the farmer's market. I just
That's
think-
fine too, yeah, sure.
But yeah, if we have enough of those events that are there.
Yeah, I guess.
Got a lot of events coming up.
We're not short on events. We do have the, July 4th is, well, everything we do is weather dependent, but historically, that's a pretty good turnout. You get a wide demographic. It's part of that,
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea.
again.
Mhm.
Who could do it July 4th?
Oh, well,
So rude.
she.
I can maybe glance on her.
I should be able to. I'll be here.
I mean, I can make a sign up sheet again.
Yeah.
If you'll take the lead.
And I'll be there part of the time, but I have to float. It's an election year. I've got,
Yeah, you gotta do your thing.
I gotta do my thing or I'm a bye-bye. So,
About the car show.
Sunday. That's this
July
Sunday.
9th.
No, it's
Oh, July 9th. Okay, I'm getting so screwed up on what I have to do.
And that's that's actually an FOP.
Yeah,
Event.
event.
Well, let me ask this then, is there an interest from members of the board or an interest in availability to do farmers market tabling? Because I don't, if there's not, I don't want to just be me the entire summer.
Mhm.
So if there's not, that's okay, and we can just move to do, just sticking with the events that are a little bit easier to coordinate. But I just figure I'll bring that out, see if that's something that, because I know that time of day can be kind of difficult for people,
Yeah. My take, this is Livia, my take is that we as a board, we don't have an identity yet, right? We're coming from pandemic, we're coming from a series of recommendations, we're coming from like trying to identify what's our mission. And I don't think there is a clarity from the community on what we do and how to reach to us, except for the inbox. I don't have access to the inbox, so we're advisory board, we're not active executive members. So, but we're very action biased, right? That we're well intended, we want to support the staff, we want to support the community, we want this to work. We're not part of dividing or, writing a plan, or we're not invited to position ourselves, like I feel like our voice is very limited. And if we can try it out to see if the table, not only a Lebo Pride, but a farmer's market during the summer, generates some dialogue. I don't think it's harmful thing to try to have some dialogues directly with the community. And we can reevaluate at the end of the season to see if the farmer's market at, the table is actually something that's worth our time. But I feel like right now, more channels, the better, to make sure that this year we can advance the goals for the board. That's my take.
I agree. I just want to make sure that there is availability amongst our group.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think it's a coordination thing. We can do a sign up Gina's, per event. It's easy to coordinate. I mean, this is very light in terms of tasks in comparison to other boards that I've been part of. So it depends on how much we can carry, right? In terms of our loads and whatnot.
So here's my suggestion. Why don't we're gonna do Lebo Pride, let's focus on July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because that's a big event, and then decide after that.
Yeah,
what
okay,
else.
that's good. So we'll scrap the June farmer's market and then pick up, still have 2 events in the next, 3-ish weeks,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send
Sounds good
out
to me too.
something for tabling for July.
And then I think we have to register, so
Okay,
Okay.
I saw something went out today.
That's for vendors, though, because they have insurance and other stuff they have to do, yeah. We can put you in touch with them.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. Laura, you're next.
You haven't seen it because it just came out, but the Turkish immigrant story is in the magazine, so I brought copies for everybody. We're gonna start, I'm gonna put things together. We're having a transition with the Residence Academy this year. I guess Stephanie's gonna be working on it a little bit, but we usually start working at the end of the summer on planning for that. So you talk about having things be light. That's a very labor intensive project. So I'll start with 2 things for that. First, we've already had people try to sign up for it and we told them we don't even have the dates yet. So how could you sign up for something that you don't know what the dates are? They're very excited about it. So and then also I had asked last meeting for, we have a plaque for the Residence Award, the Volunteer Award, and I need to know who's gonna take care of getting that engraved. You also could let it wait until next year till you have the 2 winners, so you have to take it twice, but in the meantime, there is no 2023 name on there, so I can get that plaque and get it to whoever's gonna handle the engraving for that. I think that's all I had. The website is done. It's mountlebanon.org, so we're still working some bugs out. We're bringing the police department over. They have their own website, so that's taking some time, but that should be.
It's so nice.
It's nice,
So
isn't it?
easy to use,
So
so
easy.
informative. It's just fun to go there and just look around because it's so, there's so much information, it's so easy. It's, when I first went on, I was like, because I'm so used to the old site. And then 2 minutes in, I was like, this is bad. It's like, should be a model for everything everywhere. It's.
Love
We had
it.
great contractors that helped us with it. I mean, we went into it wanting it to not look like a government website. We wanted it to look like a community website. So, but the police is pretty labor intensive, as you're aware, being on the community relations board. Our police department has their full policy manual on there, but it's 165 pages and we're trying to bring that over in the best way possible. So that when they update it, we can update it. And then we're also going to have our codes on there. Our codes right now are just in a flip book format. The codes are actually going to be online so that we can link to them, so that when you're Googling fence permits, Mount Lebanon fence.
Love
permits.
it.
So it's but it's hard. I mean, those codes, it's a 1,500 page document, so it's a lot. But our goal is for people to be more informed. So that's really the big projects that have been going on in my office that affect community engagement.
Great. Thank you.
Well, the one thing we're talking about that affects community engagement are sidewalks. So because I think that people engage on sidewalks. I think it's sort of like a front door to your yard when you have a sidewalk in front of you. So we're talking about, we're considering the new sidewalk policy that was done by ESB. And then staff has taken a look at it, looking at that and looking at other things where we have said that we would like the engineer to take a look at 6 different roads in Mount Lebanon and give us a feel for what it would take to put sidewalks in those areas. Because we're coming up on, believe it or not, even though it's only June, coming up on budget time. And these are budget issues. If you need, an engineering report to figure out where you put a sidewalk, more than just, this side looks better than the other. You have to budget for that. So we're running right ahead, working on sidewalks.
That begs the question of which 6 roads.
Oh, let me see if I can remember. Kelso, Woodland, Sleepy Hollow, Greenhurst, Lakemont, right? Lakemont, one more.
Yeah, see how I knew it and I just forgot.
Yeah.
About a 6 is good.
Yeah, they're all basically, very busy collector roads that are used by a lot of people. It's not, a small road here, a small road there. We're looking at the big stuff that isn't done. And what was it 67% of Mount Lebanon has sidewalks?
That's, yes.
Yeah, which I thought was an interest. I like statistics, even though I almost failed the class. I like them. Yeah, so so that's the big thing. We've also talked about a recycled asphalt product for our roads. Always exciting stuff. And then there are lots of events going on. Lots of events. So
You all passed an important proclamation about the month of June.
we did. We passed the Lebo Pride resolution. Or not resolution.
Proclamation.
Proclamation, thank you. I knew I'd have my words wrong. Proclamation.
And actually, that one got elevated from we have historically essentially signed proclamations for Small Business Saturday, other types of say, requests and events, we do those as part of an exec session, just signing off. This one was actually read at the public meeting.
Yeah.
So again, recognizing the importance of the
We don't
the
usually. read
proclamation, so.
Well, thank you. And it's important. It's an
Yeah.
Important statement for.
And Juneteenth is this coming.
Friday.
Friday, and Keith sent something out to remind all the commissioners.
5
Already had
to
it on,
8.
5 to 8, up in the main park.
Yeah.
It conflicts with the Pride Shabbat.
I know, we're all aware of it.
Sorry. I was just gonna be upset because I couldn't go to both. That was all. I couldn't figure out how to do both at once. You know, which one do I pick? I probably better go to Juneteenth. Yeah, but. Okay, that's
No,
it.
it's an important diversity weekend for.
It really is, yeah, it really is, yeah. Yes.
Thank you. So moving on to continuing business, Terry, I know you're limited in communication. Are you there? I have his summary email from.
He's here.
I'm still here.
Okay, great. I have your summary email about your conversation with the police chief. Do you want to talk some about what you talked about and what are potential possibilities for partnership there?
Sure, I would be glad to. I had coffee. I've had a couple of opportunities to sit down with Chief Haberman and appreciate his willingness to be in communication with me and with the CRB, his attendance at a previous meeting. Couple of things that we talked about. He gave me a hiring update and he said there's going to be 7 new hires over the next 3 to 6 months, plus the hiring of a new deputy chief. There are definitely some women that are in the final 9. I believe there are 2 females and then one minority candidate as well in the final 9. So that was a month ago that I had my conversation. I'm not sure if any action has been taken yet on that, but that'll be happening over the next few months. That was one of our recommendations, to create a more diverse police force. So Chief is moving on that. Chief is very open to community conversations with key groups, particularly underrepresented groups in Mount Lebanon. We have an opportunity to facilitate those. So part of our work would be to identify some groups that we would like to get access to, the chief to have access to have open conversation and dialogue. And if we can initiate those, make them happen, Chief will be glad to participate in them. So the way I think that's left on us to take responsibility to schedule, coordinate, venue, all that kind of stuff. The work is ours to do. So let me just pause just on those 2 things. There were a couple other things. Just any feedback or comments on those first 2 items?
I think the hiring is exciting and I'm really interested in the community conversation. I think that's something where we can really play an important role, and that is, I think, aligned with the mission of this board. You wrote, in your email, you wrote some suggestions. I don't know if you discussed those possibilities with the chief for us to think about maybe three that we want to focus on. One of them is faith leaders. I could volunteer to help organize that one, just because it would be easier to do. But there's Latino groups is on the list. I have a close relationship with the Turkish community, but that's not the only minority group. And we could come up with several sort of framing criteria, what leaders to bring into this. Do we have ideas? So, thoughts?
Haven't checked in with more recently, but I know the members were engaged in the police work before.
Yeah.
And from as part of the DEI. sure that they would be interested.
You know, I'm not part of this group, but I have a hard time being quiet anyway.
Yeah, so.
Has anybody considered reaching out to somebody from Shim? Because they deal with a lot of, I'll say typically underrepresented residents that when they first move to the community are looking for resources and I'll say ways to communicate effectively. So that might be a.
Yeah.
Livia, do you have any thoughts about, I mean, I know you've expressed interest in,
Yes.
community or.
Yeah, so I think it's, if you just give me the number of hours and I will find the right, the people to come and talk to him. There's always a willingness to, especially with the South Hills, to expand the presence and representation of the culture in general, Latino community. What does it mean in Pittsburgh? We are much less vibrant Latino recognized district than other districts in Pittsburgh. So we have now best practices in other areas in the city that we can bring to the South Hills, just beyond the increasing number of restaurants that we have, the increasing number of students in a high school that are taking Spanish. It's a growing community, and still I hear that there's no much awareness of, the differentiation, the different cultures within the big umbrella of Latinos in Pittsburgh. So we grew 9% since 2010 in Pittsburgh in general, which is positive. And there are, I have a long list of associations that will be willing to meet and discuss, how they envision expanding their services and also the events that they're running to more channels in the South Hills in general. I think I brought it up before that it's not only a Mount Lebanon or Upper St. Clair, common, it's more around the South Hills in general, which involves Bethel Park and South Fayette as well. South Fayette is actually one of the most vibrant ones along Scott Township. So we do have neighboring districts that I can touch base and see, what kind of partnerships or, story, just anecdotally, just coming in and talking to this board or talking to, you, Mr. McGill, and also other stakeholders in the municipality, just to get more of awareness of what is going to be helpful. And I would love to hear, Laura, based on the survey responses, what is the voice of our Latino representation in the neighborhood to see if we can be more targeted as far as actions that we could plan together. But beyond just communities that I mentioned that before, but I do think that he has such a caring approach to the mental health crisis we are experiencing since COVID. And I do think we have strong partners in Achieva, Western Psych, Fraser Ridge, the Watson Institute. We do have a very strong nonprofit behavioral health organizations that are leading the chart in terms of helping community become more inclusive and help fight the mental health crisis. I'm not sure how he's connected yet with those organizations. I can definitely establish some bridging conversations with him in those organizations if needed.
If I could address your comment, the results of the surveys are online at, oh God. No, I can't. Yeah, assemblyvote.com. You can actually download the raw data from all of the surveys.
Nice.
The focus group that I mentioned that's on Wednesday, and I'm not sure whether it's the Wednesday one or the Monday focus group that's within the same week. Leah, as the CRB representative, will be invited to the focus group for the CRB group that has been working on the community the comprehensive plan. So she should be able to this group what happened at that. I mean, I'll be there too, but if you want, if you're looking to have those survey results, they're online now.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, here's 4 ideas. Just trying to get 3, I got 4. So faith leaders, new immigrants, new immigrants, we could call it minority groups. And then, like civic leaders. So, you know, people who are members of civic organizations or local nonprofits, things like that. Some of these people he's already talking to, but
Mhm.
but that was sort of four things I'm just trying to think of like, what's a reasonable number for us to facilitate, to organize and facilitate.
I would say the number of sounds reasonable,
Mm.
like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And if we thought about over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How to, how to set up a facilitation so that it's, you know, a quality conversation.
Right.
I think that's the, key, at least from my perspective, is that we are hosting, we are facilitating. Rather than come to the police department, come to the police headquarters. I think it's really important to open up the dialogue and the conversation.
Now, the chief's engagement plan had some of those types of,
Right.
It does.
Yeah.
When I made the offer of appointment to Chief Haberman, we developed a 3, 6, and 1 year work plan.
Mm.
As part of that work plan, again, sort of picking up on an idea that Chief Loth had
Mhm.
started
Yeah.
about sort of forming a meeting, having meetings or a meeting with what was referred to as typically underrepresented groups in the municipality. The main focus of that really is relationship building. So that if a member of any of those groups has a concern, has an issue, you now have developed a little bit of a relationship. So you're less hesitant to potentially reach out, and it also allows us to engage, better understand what the needs of those groups are.
Yeah.
So again, it's really about relationship building and trying to be a more open and welcoming community
Mhm.
for all of our residents. So that's the overarching goal, and I think,
Right.
you know,
I
to your
think both
point,
of them. Chief and the police department initiating some of those, CRB initiating some of those. We can cover a lot of ground and get chief interacting with a lot of different groups in the municipality. And that's the key, building relationships.
and years ago, when we had a larger number of group homes in the municipality, we had actually done something similar with municipal manager, the police chief, and representatives for those group homes. And they would meet, initially they started meeting quarterly, but then they went to twice a year. Again, just to get together and exchange ideas and say, here's some things that we think we'd like to focus on and move forward. You can do something similar, if you get to that point with this group. It would be nice to introduce different groups to one another as well.
Yes.
But I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Of, 3 or 4 community gatherings over the next 6 months. It's
Mhm.
doable.
Mhm.
I think those are good
That's great.
target groups. I learned a lot from Chief. One of the things that we raised in the working group was that most Mount Lebanon residents or people that interact through Mount Lebanon experience police through the windshield of a police car, through traffic stops. When the police get out of the car or see them hiding in the bushes. And I asked the chief about this. I said, tell me if this is coincidence or something has changed. I'm seeing less cars pulled over in Mount Lebanon for traffic violations. So what Chief said, he said, we have data on that. He said, 3 years ago, we made 3,000 traffic stops. 2 years ago, we made 1,200 traffic stops, and this year they're on target for about 600. There's an intentional strategy to not hide in the bushes to catch people doing bad things. Which I just thought was very interesting. It's a different approach to policing. And that has been an intentional strategy that I think makes a big difference. It still is not getting enough officers out of the car, in my opinion, but Chief is also working on some initiatives. Daily officers have an assignment to get out and make at least one community connection. They're held accountable around that. So Jason has instituted some things from the very beginning of his tenure, I think, to help get into a much more communitarian perspective.
Did he talk to you about the block dates for this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are on the
Yep.
website as well.
Yeah,
Again,
the rock
games,
Yep.
That's the,
casual
yeah,
conversation,
that's the
no.
focus behind that.
Right.
Even at the event, the food drive event, we had our canine officer go, but he wasn't dressed in a full uniform. He was
Right.
dressed so you could tell that he was a police officer. But again, just to have the opportunity to have a casual interaction and conversation as
And the
opposed
kids
to the
love
traffic
football.
stop.
Even just referring to the department, I heard you call it a police force, we call it a police department. Force gives that fear feeling and less of a welcoming community resource and guardians as opposed to warriors.
And I think it's really interesting about the canine that now we have a bloodhound instead of the German Shepherd.
Tracking,
Pack dog,
tracking
not-
rather than apprehension.
Right, but because most of our calls are children who are lost, people with dementia, mental health issues. And the dog is gigantic, but he's huge. I just didn't know he was gonna be so big, but he's really gentle and loving and,
And a
you know.
different breed.
I know, it's a different breed, I know. I was just like, wow, you're a big dog. But, yeah.
Do you want me to mention the other two? I mean, I don't know how much
Sure.
time.
Yeah, go ahead.
So two of the things that Chief and I talked about, one was the review process.
Yes.
That was part of a recommendation, again, from the task force that Mount Lebanon opt into the Allegheny County Review Board. And my understanding from Chief's perspective is that is not possible because of union, because of contract. That our police department and the union contract does not allow any outside group having direct impact on our police department. I don't understand all the ins and outs of that, but he said even if we did opt in, it wouldn't have any binding kind of authority on the department. So one of the things, what would it look like for the CRB to create a non-biased forum for citizens to raise issues or file a complaint? I think that's something that would be important for us to push into as a CRB. As much as Chief and other officers are making connections in the community. I mean, Chief said to me, well, all a citizen has to do is call me. I'm like, I understand that, but a lot of people who have an issue or maybe are going to raise a complaint are not going to call you. That's not going to happen. So is there an alternative way that we can create? Again, just to open up that process.
And one, just on that, in terms of how we lean into that work, there is an offer that I understand of the chief coming and talking to us about.
Yes.
How
what the process was.
a police complaint is handled now.
Right.
And I think it would be good for us to understand that before we.
I believe there's also
Say anything
information
else.
on their website in terms of.
How they file a
process.
complaint.
I think the policy is.
It's on the new website. If you go on the diversity, equity and inclusion page, there's an entire explanation of that policy.
Yeah. And there's a clear policy and process and protocol. Yeah. But so if that makes sense. then-
And there was, the commission did institute an equal opportunity board that was going to hear
Yes.
complaints. And the solicitor, you probably could speak to this in a more educated way than I did, but there was a concern that if we heard complaints in a local manner, that would then take away a person's right to take it up to the state level. It was a jurisdictional issue.
You
Am I
can
saying that
file
right?
those complaints at 3 different levels. Currently, you can file at Allegheny County, you can file with the state, you can file at a federal level. You have to be very careful on how you handle those complaints because somebody can lose their right to a further appeal if you don't handle the complaint correctly. Referring to the solicitor's, I'll say recommendation, we didn't want to, I'll say jeopardize anyone's rights by not handling the process the correct way. So we've transitioned away from that and as part of the new advisory board structure, fold some of those responsibilities into the new advisory board, just not the adjudication or hearing piece.
There's more of an educational component,
Correct.
which
We can-
admittedly, they were confused because that's this board's charge as well. So there was a lot of cross.
Yeah, it will be more about putting a resident or someone who wishes to file a complaint in touch with the proper process and agencies in order to be able to do that. Those facilitating the filing of that complaint.
So how does this group feel about having a conversation about police complaints? I mean, we can look at policy, but it's the policy important. We have a conversation.
No. Maybe those are me.
I think that's great. There's, people don't know what to do when they have these issues. If we could guide them through that would be great.
So I guess my question is, should we extend an invitation to the police chief to come and have a conversation with us about police complaints? Okay. And then I think to make that good, we should all read the policy before.
Yeah.
Before we come
So
to
your
that.
questions, right?
Yeah, so we have a better conversation.
I have another meeting I
Okay.
have to go to. I'm so sorry. But
Thanks for being.
it's just one of those days that got out of control fast.
The other piece that Chief and I had a conversation about was around partnership with mental health professionals. And we've had,
Oh, that's good.
we've had conversation about
Uh-huh. Yeah.
different things that are in the works. Chief said basically there are 3 options currently being considered. One, which is the partnership with MRTSA
Mhm.
and the 5 other surrounding communities,
Mhm.
municipalities that participate in that. One, it would be going completely solo and the police department hiring their own social worker. And then a third option would be deepening, broadening the partnership with outreach. And there's already an established relationship between the police department and outreach. And the more we talked about that, Chief thought that that might be the most expedient and effective approach to build on the relationship that's already established. We all know there's mental health crises.
Yes.
And so how do we advocate for action and see some movement in this space?
Oh, and I'll just sort of share outside of class, if you will. You will see movement in that space. We just completed our deputy chief of support services interviews. We made an offer of employment. Actually, there was a written exercise followed by a presentation. And that written exercise was focused on the mental health crisis. And how to provide, I'll say, adequate support in terms of a police response. So we are looking at a number of different models and ways to try to move that forward. So that will be a continuing discussion because it has to be. There are some grant opportunities out there. The problem with a grant opportunity is those grant opportunities fund the position maybe for 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, you're left to try to figure out how to fund.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're taking a holistic look at something that will be sustainable and will be a good resource for the community and for our officers. But that is definitely a focus of Chief Haberman's, I'll say, administration, and we will continue to keep you all updated as that moves forward. We do have a pilot program that we initiated with outreach, which is I think what Chief Haberman was referring to, in where we would be able to fund a certain number of hours for a mental health professional, be able to respond if the situation or call warranted that response. We've been looking for some additional funding with outreach to try to get that into a more robust program. So again, looking at it from a number of different angles.
I like that approach because people know the brand of outreach. And it's a positive brand.
Just to get in with outreach now, there's like a month, at least maybe 2 month wait. So they're so pressed already and that's, a concern.
Yeah, and that's why we were trying to, I believe the number for last year's budget, we may have committed, I think, about $30,000 to try to, again, just get some supplemental staffing so that we can try to move that forward.
So I think for next steps, do you want to continue? Are you comfortable continuing to be the person? So an invitation to the chief to meet with us, talk about complaints. We all have to commit to studying up before that, and not necessarily,
Yeah.
doesn't need to be our next meeting, it could be a future meeting. And then the offer that we'll do over the next 6 months for
community conversations.
Yeah, and if he has targets, I mean, I threw out ideas here, but,
Yeah, it'd be interesting yet to see what is part of his plan, his agenda, and where are the gaps and how can we make sure we're covering our key groups.
Yep. I would suggest that at least August, just because if I remember correctly, last year's July meeting was sparsely attended due to vacations and stuff, so.
We'll be very busy in the month of July. We'll be onboarding our new deputy chief of support services, so there's some additional workload.
Got it.
okay, that's all exciting. Exciting opportunities.
Yeah.
And then the venues for these conversations, I would suggest them being not here. You know,
Right. Have neutral space.
space where they feel like neutral space, yeah, so.
Well, you have to stay below your quorum amount, remember that.
Yeah, we all can't go.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But
Mhm.
But if the feeling of a true conversation, I think is what we want, not a presentation or a, staged venue.
Mhm. Yeah, those are dialogues, more, simple dialogues, building partnerships, learning about each other's agenda, goals for the year. It's all good stuff, all good things and how we build it. So Laura, may I ask you a question again? Where is the data that you said about the survey, the results? I'm looking in a website. Do you mind sharing one more time?
I have a computer here, I can see if I can pull it up on my phone. But
It's
Should be one of the tab.
website, it's not the municipal website.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear, is that what you said? Yeah, ascendlebo.com,
Okay.
and it should be in one of the tabs. And you could download it as a, I think either as a comma separated value or a,
Yes.
topic survey results.
Okay. And to what extent does members of this meeting and the board are connected with the Ascend Lebo group?
You have a representative, Leah is your representative.
He's
on
still
the focus
participating.
group. Correct. Yes.
Okay, and do you know how often they meet? And
Ian McMeans keeps them updated on a frequent basis. They will be having 3 focus group meetings. They've already had one and they're having another, like I said, this week and next week. And then there will be a 3rd set.
yeah. So maybe Noah, we need to have for the purpose of education, an update from Leah on the Ascend Lebo updates weekly before the meetings, before the public meetings. So we are up to date on what the focus is and the priorities are for the month.
Right. So I'll reach out to her and ask her to provide us with a regular update.
Yes. I think that's, and also with ESG, I met the lady that's helping the school district, the high school with the ESG policy. Has anybody met her personally? I saw her in one of the school district board meetings. I forgot her name right now, but she's phenomenal. She did the whole assessment evaluation, how to have an ESG policy for the school. I was just wondering if she's also known by others in the room. Do you know Laura? Does it ring the bell?
Not familiar with the ESG.
The environmental social groups and priorities for the high school. They have a whole new program and plan to make the high school greener and sustainable.
I don't. I do believe we have representatives from the high school last semester on our municipal ESB, but they would have termed out right now.
Okay.
Applications are due July 8th for the next round for the next school year. So.
Thank you.
So just to finish our DEI part of our agenda. So we're moving forward with our tabling experiments of engagement. We have some a conversation with the police chief, and I'm gonna offer to convene 4 conversations over 6 months. So I feel like this is good for our workload. Agree.
I think so.
So we'll work on that for the next period of time and see where this is going, so
Okay,
I think we maybe.
you lost your quorum.
We lost our, so now, depending how you read Robert's rules, we still have a quorum because if someone leaves.
Yeah, she misspoke. I sent her a correction after that. I didn't want to correct her in public, but no, you have to have, I mean, you can have
Yeah.
presentations given to you, but you
Yeah.
can't deliberate or vote on it.
Right, so can we not move to end the meeting?
Stay.
Meetings are adjourned, they're not adjourned by motion.
Oh, we have to, we do something to end it, don't we?
Only if you have
Share.
only if you haven't completed the agenda, but you can't complete it, I mean. Okay, anything else anyone needs to present right now? I think, we had, just so you know, Laura, that, Stephanie's taking the lead from us on, Citizen Can, Adam's doing second chair.
Great.
So, great, we have extra people on that, so. All right. Now that our, meeting has been adjourned by, loss of quorum. So,
Other than,
yeah, we could be on July 12th. All right, thanks. Okay, where are you, Mark?
right in the
On the lot, okay, Mike, that's where I am. Okay, we'll pass everything.
Everybody, have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.